What?
Welcome to another episode of Searching for MacGuffin with your host, George.
I'm still getting up. Hold on. Gabe.
And that's it. No, usually I think you're supposed to say and Gabe.
No, it's just George Gabe.
Oh,
no end.
Okay. It's that time again to talk about. I don't know. What are we talking about? No longer the Batman.
Batman adjacent.
The Penguin. Let's just cut to the chase.
Guys, I really hope you've done your homework and you've watched this show. Because if you haven't, I'm very disappointed in you. Like, extremely.
Yeah, we told you last week that you had 7 days.
So, what?
If you haven't watched The Penguin, do not pause. Spoil the series by listening to this episode, and then go back and piece together your interpretation of the series.
That's what you deserve.
Yeah, because if we tell them to pause, what I've learned is that then they just don't come back to the episode. So we'd rather they.
That's true.
Yeah.
Listen to the episode. Leave it playing.
Actually, yeah, just leave it playing while you go watch The Penguin.
Yeah.
And then come back after it and just hit the replay button.
But also just leave it playing just while you're sleeping, while you're going throughout your day.
Yeah, actually, open up Apple, Spotify. There's no Google Podcast anymore. I guess YouTube, and just press play on all
whatever
of them.
you do for work. Your coworkers grab their phones, press play.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you work in the medical field, your patients' phones, either while they're passed out in the hospital or you're treating patients.
If you're a teacher, pick up all of the student phones, press play on all of them.
Dude, you should do that.
Throughout the day.
If you collect phones,
We do collect phones.
Then why don't we?
Everyone, please open up your phones to your podcast player of choice. Okay, I will now be collecting your phones. And then all right, do your quick write while I find my show, favorite it, like it, make a comment, and press
We're
play.
about to make it, guys. We're ready.
So, if you haven't seen The Penguin, I forgot to tell you that there was a Black Friday sale that was still running when the last episode aired for $2.99.
You think that Black Friday sale's still going?
No, it's not still going. So what I need you to do is create a time machine,
Wow.
go back before Black Friday, and subscribe to Max for $2.99.
David Zaslav will appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Or not.
I think he'll appreciate it more if they subscribe now for the full price. Yeah.
I hate that guy.
Yeah. Well, hate's a strong word.
I know. The Penguin. We told you last week it might be 10 episodes. We lied. Not on purpose, but it is 8 episodes.
Yeah, I knew it was 8 episodes.
8 episodes of gloriousness.
Which means you have less episodes to watch. So why didn't you finish it? We told you to watch the show.
It's actually kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Not based at all.
I don't actually know what that word means. I just use it when my nephew's around.
The other day I heard someone say what the Sigma. And
that can't be real.
There was a child.
Okay.
Like they were leaving the pickleball courts too early, and they're like, her mom was like, let's go, we're leaving.
That's what this generation's doing, playing pickleball and then saying what the Sigma.
No, they're on their phones while their parents play pickleball.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
And the kid was just like, what the Sigma? And I was like,
it's real.
Our producer, Nick, says yes, they do that.
Okay. Does he do that?
He's the youngest one
on the crew?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And the youngest one in emotional development also, now that other guy's gone.
The Penguin.
How were you first introduced to the Penguin character before we get into the show?
The Penguin character, Danny DeVito.
Oh, really?
Mr. DeVito was the first thing.
Me too.
Was the first Penguin iteration that I saw.
To me, that was the Penguin.
He's the Penguin until now.
I thought that the Penguin was always put into a basket like Moses and sent down a river and picked up. That's what happens to the Danny DeVito one. Okay, because you're looking a little confused at me.
About what?
About what I'm saying. I don't know. You were like...
No, I'm just...
trying to wake up.
Yeah, I'm still waking up.
Okay, got it. So, and I thought that he was like horribly disfigured. Obviously, the Penguin is some kind of disfigured in most iterations, right?
Yeah.
But I thought that he literally looked like a vampire bird and that he was 800 pounds and
small.
Yeah, tiny. Yeah, like a dwarf. But no, apparently that is not who the Penguin is.
It's just like when we found out Danny DeVito is not technically a dwarf.
Yeah, not technically a dwarf. He's right on the... He is actually the line. Like, you have to be under Danny DeVito. That's how they test you in The Doctor. They take out like a wax figure of Danny DeVito, and you stand next to it.
And if you get lucky in some doctor's offices, Danny DeVito actually comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of that bit. So that's not who the Penguin is, but for me it was. Those Tim Burton movies, I think, shaped a lot of those characters for me. I thought Catwoman had 9 lives. That makes no sense. I also thought, wow, if she died 8 times in the movie, in Batman 3, she's only gonna have 1 life left.
I also thought that like that tray that Batman used to save his life, that the Joker shoots.
Oh yeah.
I was like, are they just bulletproof? Like,
Yeah, that
that's
could happen.
incredible.
Yeah. What is it? Serving
Like a
trays
serving tray.
just from a regular house could stop a bullet. Yeah. Apparently.
And then I was just like, I gotta get me one of those.
I don't know. We went into this
Because as a 7-year-old kid, I'm gonna be getting shot at.
Yeah, you're like, what if somebody shoots a gun?
And that's the thing. I told you last week. We talked about it. The Joker can be anybody.
That's true, right? I mean, we did go to school in America, so
That's true.
That was a real possibility. But a lot of those things that happened in those Burton movies, and there's a weird rant that we went on a side quest for, but I thought Batman hung upside down in the Batcave, like to sleep at night. I thought that.
I
was
think
a real
everyone
thing.
thought that.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So those Burtonisms, I think they trickle into the depictions, but after that, Batman the Animated Series has a more traditional, although he looks grotesque, not like with the green blood and the white pale skin, but he looks really Penguin-like in Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
So like, when I was growing up, I just thought Batman the Animated Series was adjacent to the Burton movies, and I think there's a lot of parallels with the themes, and like Jack Napier is in the Joker file. Oh, I think we mentioned this before, but to me that was synonymous when I started then going back and just seeing this like just gangster Penguin who's just kind of fat and has kind of a big nose. That was jarring for me because I thought he was so grotesquely supernatural. We talked about the Rogues last week, how some of them tend to be supernatural, but most of them are just guys in suits. And I think that's what makes the Penguin so palatable, especially on this show. It's just a gangster. I mean, gangster film, gangster show.
It's literally
akin
just
to The Sopranos.
The Sopranos
Yeah.
in the DC universe. He's just Tony. And man, I'll just talk about Colin.
Okay, go ahead.
Like, first of all, makeup team, they did their thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't even tell that that's him. Like, when I first saw
In
pictures
the
of
Batman?
him, in the Batman, when I first saw pictures or like stills before the movie even got released, I was like, who is that?
Well, I heard that Colin Farrell was going to play the Joker, and I thought that's a weird choice, but at this point I just trust them because
I think he can do anything.
yeah. And also we already went with Heath Ledger, the Joker. You know, I grew up hearing about how people didn't think Michael Keaton would be a good Batman, and what other
Yeah, like no, even Pattinson. Everyone was like, when Pattinson
That's
got
right.
picked to be the Batman, everyone was like, what the heck? But then you look.
when they picked Jared Leto to be the Joker, everybody was like, "Oh, this isn't going to be a good iteration," but he's actually the greatest representation of the Joker ever in the history of all. No, okay, not a good example, but usually they get it right with the Batman characters.
No, yeah, because everyone was just like, is this guy gonna be good? Like, especially with Pattinson, like everyone was like, the vampire guy is gonna be.
Yeah, which he was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, and then you look back at his filmography. The guy's a great actor.
Yeah,
The guy's fantastic. When I first heard it, I was like, but I also think it's because I wanted somebody else. I can't remember who it was now at this point.
wow.
Just 'cause it's
So
like,
he's erased your top pick.
he's
brother.
like, he's up there.
I
man.
think you told me it was Juice World. I think you wanted Juice World to be.
I don't even know who that is.
Rest in peace, Juice World.
Forever immortalized in Fortnite.
Um,
No, so I think after I got over that initial like, oh, he's gonna be Batman, I was just like, all right, give him a chance, because I think we've seen enough that it's like people get picked in these opportunities, and they're like, there has to be a reason. I want to be surprised.
yeah. Also, going back to the point was that I heard Colin Farrell was going to be Penguin. Quickly forgot about it as the months passed. The movie comes out, and I don't remember who's the Penguin. And it's like halfway through the movie, I was like, "Who is this guy?"
Because you can because it's like everyone in the movie, it's like, oh, that's that person, oh, that's that person, or that looks. But then you look at him, and he's like, he looks like somebody, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And
So I did a quick like look at my phone, Wikipedia. My wife tells me to put my phone away. You hit me to focus and look. I don't know if any of that happened, but that's usually what happens when I go to a movie.
how soon did you do it?
Nah, it was a while because I was just
Because
like,
if it was a car chase sequence, then I'm just like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Did we watch the Batman together?
Yeah.
Okay.
We went to that IMAX fan.
Oh, that's
Event.
right. Yes, I can't remember because I saw it so many times.
Yeah, and I was freaking out because like I don't know if they're gonna have trailers.
Oh yeah.
And we were kind of not. We were later.
They had like short trailers, right?
They like. No, I don't think that one had a trailer.
No, they had like just like behind the scenes.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think like congratulations, you're here to watch the Batman.
But man, like he was so. Even I guess the story starts with the Batman. I think
Yeah.
for him. I mean, he was great in it. He was the comedic relief, especially when
He's such a funny character in that movie.
He's just like when they're interrogating him, and Gordon's just like, "Come on, man," and then he's just like, "Whoa, relax." I don't know. I think
El Rata Alada.
it's gotta be the worst Spanish I've ever heard. No, I think his entire performance was hilarious and fantastic. The way that I feel like there's certain characters I think in movies that I'm watching now that just like steal the show,
Like what?
like Wicked.
Oh, I meant to talk about that in the Rogues Gallery episode last week about how we create our villains
Yeah.
and how that theme is consistent throughout media, and we're seeing it with the emergence of Wicked, which is another great film. In case if you're at all interested, it is a musical, but check it out. It is an epic film.
Yeah,
It is a part 1, by the way, too, so don't be surprised.
to touch on that quickly, I think was the
Yeah.
part we didn't talk about. I feel like whenever there's a character that's kind of like borderline insane or like has seemed like these little quirks or like kind of just feels like they're kind of crazy, I always think of the Joker.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you relate.
No. I always think of the Joker. Like I always think of if it's crazy, if it's loony, if it's, kooky. I think of Heath Ledger's Joker. I think of Mark Hamill's Joker. And I feel like
You don't think of Nicholson's Joker?
yeah.
Okay.
Like we would watch Gladiator.
Yeah.
And Denzel's like always smiling.
Yeah, and
like,
you're like,
he's
why
smiling
is this
through
dude
the- I was like,
laughing all
bro.
the time?
Like the guy's just having I think he had the time of his life on that movie, but
Yeah, just like going around kissing guys and making money and just
Yeah.
laughing barely. Because Denzel's such a good actor that he doesn't even have to try.
he could kiss a horse and then it'd be like no one bat an eye.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, we get it. He's crazy.
But talking about great actors, Colin Farrell. What do you think about Colin Farrell as an actor?
Oh, I think he's amazing. I think his greatest performance is obviously everyone will say Bullseye in the Fox Daredevil film.
Agreed.
But after that, he's got a bevy of outstanding performances. Banshees of Inisherin, In Bruges.
I think those two movies. I think he's been amazing in so many different movies. But
So many different movies.
but
Like
those,
The Crimes of Grindelwald. I don't think he's in that movie.
I haven't seen that. But those two movies.
He's in the first one. The first. Oh no, he's in the first Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
And he's actually very good in it. And that movie's actually very good. It's after that it gets.
But I think
They swap him for Johnny Depp.
what it is because he was like the big up and coming like action star in the
Yes.
early 2000s.
He was a hot hunk.
Yeah,
the
and then,
bad boy.
and then he got to more serious roles, and then he got to like In Bruges and Banshees, which is like serious, but it's like those films are special because they're very heavy,
yeah,
but
strong,
they're so
dark.
funny.
Yes,
They're hilarious,
sardonic.
and I think seeing those two, I think I was like, the guy's got it, bro.
I got to see that movie. What, After Yang?
I haven't seen that yet.
Whoa, you didn't see that?
No,
Oh, we
it's
saw
on
that
Hulu, I think.
at the film festival. Like, I believe that.
Oh,
was
I think that was the day after when I had to go when I
Mm.
wasn't there.
It was prior to The Batman, and I was hyped. But then again, I forgot that he was it. But he just has so many great films.
And I mean,
Didn't you see this one that he's like? It's like a period piece.
about Pocahontas,
Yeah, is that what it's
The
about?
New World. Yeah,
Oh, I haven't seen it.
he's John Smith.
He's John Smith in that movie for real?
Yeah,
Okay, they do not fall in love like the Disney movie, right?
they do. but
What?
they do. But he
What is this narrative? Why do people keep? This is like Batgirl and Batman. What is? Why do they keep shipping Pocahontas?
he
and
might
John
not be
Smith?
John Smith. That's the thing.
Oh, he's John Rolfe.
Because Christian Bale's in that movie. And Christian Bale
Is
I think Christian Bale might be John Rolfe.
oh okay, but Christian Bale isn't he Thomas
What?
in the original Disney Pocahontas movie? He is Mel Gibson's best friend. Is Thomas?
He's in that movie?
Yeah, Christian Bale is.
I was thinking that guy was Tom Cruise. So
Tom Cruise was Thomas,
yeah, Colin Farrell's John Smith
and he is in love with
and
Pocahontas.
Christian
again.
Bale's John Rolfe.
Well, for all the children and adults out there that may have been shaped by this Disney movie, John Smith is not in love with Pocahontas. That didn't happen, okay? So, how was this movie, by the way? It was mid?
He does great.
Because they fall in love, right? That's why it was mid.
He does great, but it's just he's narrating like he's in a journal for like most of the movie,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of slow. And
That's-
then
the
it
name-
kind of ends.
The name of this movie is what?
A New World.
Is it better than
New
Moana
World.
2?
Never seen it.
You've never seen A New World? Why are you talking so much about it?
Because I saw the director's cut,
Okay, got it.
which is 3 hours.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That sounds like it drags. Anyways, just like the Batman, though. The Batman's 3 hours. That movie does not drag.
Okay, I was like wondering. I was like, what do you mean just like the Batman?
Just like the Batman.
People
It's
say
3
that though.
hours.
People's like it's 3 hours. I can't do it.
Maybe
I'm like,
I've
you're an effing idiot.
I've actually seen people like
If you think the Batman's too long, then
some of my best friends think the Batman's too long. But I did see someone walk out of the Batman
We have
and
people
live
that
stream that it
are in
was
our
the
lives.
worst Batman movie that they had ever seen. And I actually like geolocated them, found them, and just cold cocked them in the face. I just punched them like straight in the face.
Batman would do.
And then I just walked away. That's
There's
not a
just-
true story.
There's just things that. How do you? It's okay. It's getting away from us.
That's for legal reasons. I have to add that disclaimer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For me, for the previous episode, that was not medical advice. Don't take your patient's phones and listen to it. Was that this episode?
That was last week.
That wasn't the beginning of this episode where I told everyone.
No, it
to
wasn't.
listen?
Why would you be confused about what we recorded last week? Clearly.
Because I'm just waking up.
Oh, okay, that's true. You must have been having lucid dreams again.
It was the accident.
So, to the Max show. Let's get to this show is called The Penguin, but it really should be called
Gotham. But I think Gotham was taken.
That's actually true.
I think Gotham was taken.
I was thinking it should be called Sophia Falcone and the Penguin, but then that would be a horrible title for a show. So I understand why they didn't.
The
call it
Penguin
that.
and the Falcon.
Oh, I actually would. I would. It gives me Maltese Falcon vibes. Let's talk about how this show is not just a character study on Oswald Cobblepot, which it isn't because apparently that's not his name. There was a lot of controversy.
Oz.
How do you feel about the fact that they changed his name to Oz Cobb? Okay.
I don't care, man.
I also don't care. But also, they don't really change his first name because they made a big brouhaha like how he's Oz Cobb now instead of Oswald Cobblepot. But they called him Oswald a bunch of times in the show because I was looking for it. And so, I mean,
I was gonna call him Oswald, man. The guy's a gangster. Just call him Oz.
yeah, I get it. His nickname is Oz. His name is still
But
Oswald.
his name Oswald.
But his last name is Cobb. It's not Cobblepot. And the thing is that I was wondering, does this contradict the Batman? And I went back and watched the Batman. I was like, nobody actually names him. Yeah, and they actually call him Oz. So I'm like, what is the big controversy? They call him Oz a bunch of times in the Batman.
The Penguin.
But yeah, they call him the Penguin, right? So they changed his name to Cobb. I think it's a little silly in the sense that Cobblepot's a name. It can be an old archaic name, but it's still a name. Like, who cares about these names? But I also don't mind shortening it to Cobb because it's better, I think, than naming him Oswalda in Cape Crusader.
That was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the gender bent, but
It's a
I think
stupid name.
they could have come up with a better name.
That was the 40s.
Oh, that's true. Is that when they made that show? Anyways, so what's your pitch here? Why watch this show for those that haven't, or refresh those who have seen the show?
You seen The Sopranos?
I haven't actually.
You seen The Departed?
I haven't actually. I'm just kidding. I've seen it several times.
Actually,
Actually, one of my favorite movies.
that, and Batman doesn't show up, just like those movies.
Spoilers. Okay, so we're getting into spoiler territory.
Yeah,
Full disclosure.
you should have watched this. I'm
Yeah.
done bashing you guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
It's not even like we're gonna talk a lot about events that take place. Like you have the show for that, so we're gonna talk about some of the ideas, right?
No, I think that it builds upon everything that we got from the Batman. Why we love the Batman so much. I didn't think that anything could get more grounded than the Dark Knight, and then the Batman came out.
Well, so you think the Batman and the Penguin are more grounded than the Dark Knight film?
In some instances,
How so?
I think that. Well, the Penguin for sure. I mean, we didn't really have side projects like that, which I think is incredible. That we live in
Yeah.
a day and age where like we can have side TV shows now.
Yeah, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times, right? Definitely the double-edged sword of media today.
Or maybe not even more grounded. Maybe just on that same level of
I,
gravity.
I honestly do agree with you that in many ways it is more grounded.
There's different points, but I think with the show really could just be like an episode of like it's a show like The Wire
yeah,
or The Sopranos, where it's like this is legit, and that's another thing that I love about these stories is like this could happen,
yeah.
you know?
I think too that when we talk about grounded, sometimes people confuse grounded with realistic.
Yeah.
And I think that even the Batman is not realistic. No interpretation of Batman is realistic. The concept of Batman makes no sense, and it wouldn't work in real life. What being grounded to me means is trying to rationalize how it could work, if it were to work. And I think that Reeves thinks about that. He thinks about the Nolan films, and he's like, how can I do that more realistically? When he does the what's it called, the raccoon suit? What do they call those?
The
things?
flight suit?
The flight suit, right? That's what it's called, just flight suit.
No, squirrel suits.
Squirrel suits. There we go. When he does raccoon, I'm thinking Super Mario, right? Super Mario Brothers 3. When they do the squirrel suits, I think he's like the glider didn't make sense in Batman. Like, how does he have? Because it's like a big mechanical glider, basically, right? So how does he even carry it? So he's like, how can I take it to the next level? How can I ground these characters even more? And I think that's what when he turns the Batmobile back into a car closer to the 60s show than it is to the tank.
That might be my favorite Batmobile, man.
Yeah?
That
Yeah.
thing, like, because like I look at it and I'm like, that thing is sick. And I think also just the car chase sequence from the Batman, just it's ingrained in my mind. That's one of the best car chase sequences I've ever seen in my life. And that car just looks cool.
Yeah.
Though, like,
Because it looks like a real car.
yeah, for me, because I mean, it's based off a model of a real car because they built that. Did you ever seen the video?
No, I have
They
not.
built. That's what I was watching earlier. They built that thing from scratch, and they had to like make parts for it and stuff like that. The base
Maybe we
model
should
is
talk
like
about maybe we should do an episode on cars in the future. Not.
and just be us two.
No, I think we should get some of the producers to come in.
All right.
All right.
But and that was a scene with Oz too. I think with Oz Cobb, you know, in that chase sequence, and I think that a lot of the things that the character doesn't like. The character continues, you know. I think how he's like, I beat you,
Yeah.
and he does a lot of those little quirks that he has.
You know, and those are glimpses of the character we're going to see in the Penguin. And like they really build on the little screen time that, you know, Oswald got.
And I mean, he's a complicated character, and to the point where by the end of the show, I'm not rooting for this guy. This guy is terrible.
Yeah.
It's like a very like Breaking Bad situation where it's like I'm not rooting for the main character.
You know, one thing that's so smart about this version of the Batman universe is that they start him as like ground level, like just muscle. Even though he runs the Iceberg Lounge in the Batman, you go back and you realize this guy does not have a lot of power and influence. And there's that line that Batman, when Penguin tells Batman, "Oh, do you know who you are? Do you know who I am? And you know my reputation?" And he's like, "Do you?"
Yeah.
And that line hits so different now looking at the Penguin because he's really not the Penguin that we know from other iterations where he's well established. He's not a rogue here. He's just some dude. He's hired muscle for the Falcones and then the Maronis, and this is the rise to power.
Yeah. And the thing that because it's just like from Batman's perspective, he's just starting out too.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily, I love it because it's still early days, but it's not the origin. You know,
Yeah.
they're already kind of established, and they're like, it's that progress to how you get to that.
Yeah,
point.
we're like year 2+ right at this
Yeah.
point.
And I think a lot of times things can get lost in an origin story.
Yeah.
You know,
You have to. There's too much exposition.
yeah,
And
and I mean, even how the show starts, like in the beginning with him killing Falcone, the son,
what's his name? Oh, man.
Donnie.
No, it's not Danny or Donnie. I know because he's one of the possible hangman killers in the Long Halloween. It's Carmine, his daughter Sophia, and her brother Alberto Falcone. That's it. Which he's great, by the way.
That actor's awesome.
And I was sad when he dies immediately, but then they do the flashback episode
Yeah.
and he gets to cut his teeth.
Yeah.
Big fan of Miss Maisel, the marvelous Miss Maisel. If you haven't seen it on Amazon Prime, I think one of my favorite shows in modern history.
And,
Check it out.
And I think also just that thing where like a person just snaps, where that happens, where he just kind of makes fun of him, and then he just kind of loses it, and he gets like that rage.
And that recurring theme throughout the series,
Yeah.
because how he treats his brothers, how he
Which that was crazy, man. Like you can kind of see that coming, but then he does it, and then
you can't believe it when it happens.
And then he acts like nothing happened.
Yeah, he's not a sociopath. He's a psychopath.
Yeah, and it's just like these little things where like the guy's insane, and then like we said, it's all little traits that I'm like Joker vibes.
Yeah,
and to the point where like but he's also trying to convince himself of certain things. He's also like by the end he's paying that woman to like act like his mother. The weird relationship he has with his mom too.
Oedipal in nature.
And I like how they do throughout the show, like it's very consistent. And what I enjoy about, shows like that, or just, shows in general, is when they pay attention, like you get rewarded for paying attention to little details.
Yeah.
And I think there was a litany of them throughout the show, but also it wasn't like Gotham where it's going to throw in, like, it's not going to name drop a bunch of stuff just because it's a Batman-esque show, related show. There wasn't like all these Easter eggs and things like that can like
Gladiator 2.
Yeah. Super fan service.
When they turned the Coliseum into the Iceberg Lounge with sharks.
See, that's the thing. The Iceberg Lounge isn't even. Wait, which one's the club beneath the club?
That's Below Zero.
That's the one, and he's not even in charge of that.
No, he's not even in charge of that. Yeah, exactly.
The
Iceberg Lounge is a front.
Yeah, but I think just he's so, and his acting is phenomenal. He should get nominated by the very least.
For what is it? An Emmy? That's what he's up for.
Emmy. He should be up for.
I
it.
think he should get a nomination. But what about her?
And yeah, now we go to talk about Sophia.
Christina Milioti, is that her name?
Milioti,
something like that. I think that's exactly what.
But she was in what? How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. Was the movie with Margot Robbie and Leonardo DiCaprio?
Wolf of Wall Street.
She was Sexy Baby on that 30 Rock.
Oh my God, she is on that show.
Yeah. So she's been around. She's been in stuff. But this is, I think, her coming out party in regards to, I think she's worthy of being nominated.
Oh, for sure. She absolutely killed that. The flashback, like all the episodes, but the flashback episode, and you like see what happened to her.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, this is tragic.
That's what's great about doing a show like this. You have the time to explore these little explored characters. I don't think you're ever going to get a movie that focuses on Sophia Falcone as a main villain, let alone the Falcone family, the Maronis. We get a little bit of it really just only in The Dark Knight, right? We get Falcone in Batman Begins. We get Maroni in The Dark Knight, right? And then all the mobster stuff kind of just disappears in the third one. And then we got John Turturro as Falcone in The Batman, but he has very little screen time. He does a great job with what he has.
Yeah.
But again, these movies don't have the time to focus on these tertiary antagonists, because in The Batman we have what? The Riddler. We have the Joker in a supporting role. We have Falcone. We have Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I just assumed. So there. We have the Penguin. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff going on in these movies.
Yeah.
So to be able to flesh this out over 8 episodes, 8-hour-long episodes, and kind of give half the screen time basically to a character like Sofia Falcone, this is, I mean, it's honestly a dream come true for me because I love the Sofia character, and this is much different than her
I wasn't familiar.
interpretation. She's in The Long Halloween. She is the well, actually, they leave it ambiguous as to who the Hangman Killer is in The Long Halloween.
I mean, aside from like, but I haven't really seen her in anything. At least I don't think I have.
Well, then Dark Victory. Have you ever read the book that
No.
follows? You need to read Dark Victory, the book that follows Long Halloween. That's basically year 2 of the Holiday
Did I
Killer.
read that one?
It's the one where Robin gets introduced.
The girl?
No, just right. It's like Dick. Like it's year 2 of Batman, and he picks up Dick Grayson.
What's it called? Dark Victory?
Dark Victory, yeah. Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, the sequel to The Long Halloween. The Little Slept On. Like, see?
Oh.
Yeah, and she's
okay.
in the
I did
neck
read this.
brace. Yeah.
I did read this.
So this is Sophia. This is what she is like, right? Big Italian woman, right? She's on a warpath for revenge, killing everyone. And we get a version of that kind of origin as she's sent to Arkham. What did you think about the depictions of Arkham in this series?
That was great.
What I love your review.
I thought it was one word review.
I like how it mirrors the depiction in the little depiction that we get in the Batman, but it also felt so realistic. I had never,
like you think of Arkham as like this place basically to hold bad guys.
this
like,
mythological,
Like it's the what is it? What is it in Spider-Man?
the raft.
The raft.
Yeah,
And it's like
that is what I think about it.
It's
yeah.
it's this place that holds all these, either crazy people, metahumans, but it's a psych ward.
Well, because when you go to it in Batman the animated series, it's almost like a pantheon where you're like, there's Zeus locked up, there's Bane locked up, there's the Riddler locked, you know?
It's a psych ward, and the rehabilitation aspect is just basically you have crazy people taking care of other crazy people.
Yeah, man. I wonder if they're gonna explore that, taking a look at like Jeremiah Arkham.
Yeah. And you have crazy people taking care of other crazy people. Taking care of is a
Taking care of is a one word.
Yeah.
It's a euphemism in this case.
And you really they're torturing them, and they're making them even crazier, which is like, I get it. You escape, and then you cause more harm. And I get this.
Are the Rogues Galleries victims of society? Are they?
They're victims and perpetrators.
Yeah.
Just like many of us are.
Us is a strong word.
You're a perpetrator.
I don't want to unpack that. Let's move on. So where do we stand with this series? The Penguin.
I think it's S tier.
You think it's on the same level as the Batman?
The Batman as a movie, The Penguin as a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't see your face, by the way. You look like you're wearing a mask.
Nobody cares who I was until I put on the mask.
Okay, that's fair.
Aha!
So why does it matter?
To this thing.
The Penguin series, Falcone, the Penguin, Gigante, right? As she is now known as. Were you surprised that she lived out the series? Will we see her again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important to build, because if you're gonna kill all these people in Batman's first 2 years, then
Well, they did a lot of killing. I mean, they got rid of Falcone. They got rid of Maroni.
exactly, which is why there's spaces to be filled.
Right.
You
You think she'll be in the movies
yes,
because of the connection with Selena Kyle?
1,000%,
Okay.
1,000%.
What else do you think will bleed over? Not Victor, for sure. That relationship between the Penguin and Victor.
Yeah, I remember my theory was he's just gonna be Victor's ass.
A lot of people online were saying that. I was like, I don't see it.
It's just very direct.
Yeah, but I think what we got was much worse.
It was
on
terrible,
an emotional,
but
level. Yeah,
but I mean, I saw it coming. And that's the thing. There's the main plot line, and then there's this little things I think throughout the story that I'm like, he's a man that's always gonna save himself. He's always gonna do what's best for him, and he's gonna rationalize it as I'm doing it for somebody else. And I think they even touched upon that when he's confronted with his mom.
yeah.
And it's like, you were gonna let that happen to her. You can't help yourself, you know. And he claims it's, you know, all for the mom, and I'm sure he does love his mom in a weird way, but like it's all about him.
You drew that parallel with Breaking Bad, and I think it's exactly the Walter White trajectory, right?
I love that as a TV show. I love that the fact that I do not want to see the main character win, but he's gonna keep winning. You know, but then it's like that's just a TV show, and I still got my movies.
That's right. All right, so why does it matter? Why does a story like that resonate to audiences, us in particular? Well, I mean, not just us, because I've heard it's done great in the ratings. I heard it was a very popular series.
Yeah, I think. You're talking about the story in particular, or just in general?
In general,
I think this is the dream of what we had for these types of TV shows, these, you know, streaming platforms.
it's the fruition of a long forgotten promise.
Because we had. I remember when Disney Plus was coming out, we were gonna get the Marvel shows, we were gonna get the Star Wars.
We were like,
shows.
this is gonna be the greatest time of our lives.
Yeah, but I always feel like, oh, I wish this show got like HBO level treatment.
Yeah.
And this is a Max. This is an HBO Max show.
What have you felt that about? Mandalorian?
Star Wars stuff.
Andor? Yeah.
I
Some
think-
of the Star Wars.
I think Star Wars. Oh, Andor is the best one. I think Andor feels like the closest it could be to that. Also, what do you feel about the difference in like maturity ratings between the movie and the show?
I'm not a fan of taking some of these series too mature. For example, I think Batman is an accessible character, and I think it's serious and dark enough that you can get, I guess for lack of a better word, dark with the story without having to push the envelope into something that alienates younger audiences. Like The Dark Knight, I think is perfect. The Dark Knight is like a scary movie. The Joker is scary, but it's still PG-13. The Batman does it too. The Batman is a really dry, long, serious movie. And the only thing I want to worry about those things if is these films and shows are just going to be too dry and boring for children. That's fine. If they don't like it, then okay, then don't watch it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't kind of want to gatekeep these characters like Batman because they're so universal. There's also a corporate, like capitalistic aspect to it. We market these characters to kids. They're on cartoons and book bags and T-shirts. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to hold them sacred in some sense. So you can only push them towards certain boundaries. But I also think that there are those limitations in the original medium. In comic books, there's only so much you can do that going beyond that original limitation kind of does a disservice to the characters. All to say is I'm okay with, making them edgier, more mature content, but I think there's a line. I think the Penguin straddles that line. It's definitely an MA series, right? Especially because of language, but there's limitations on like drug usage, for example. They still use the drops from the Batman, and they introduce mushrooms, right? Which obviously mushrooms are like a real drug, but they have something palatable as opposed to like no one has a needle of heroin like sticking out of their arm, things of that nature. And I think there's no like gratuitous sex, etc. As opposed to, for example, the Dune films. There's the new series. The series Dune Prophecy is very mature rated as opposed to the PG-13 movies. Basically, there's a double standard here. You're making them PG-13 for the cinemas so you can get as many people and families to watch them and younger audiences. And then that those kind of safeties aren't in place with streaming. Yeah. So like everyone's going to watch it whether it's appropriate enough. And I think a combined, I guess, theme and for those elements to just be consistent throughout mediums would be nice. If Dune's going to be a rated R movie, that's fine. Like, do it and have that same tone. But I think it's weird to like be going back and forth with these extended universes.
My theory is just no one wants to curse around Batman.
Oh, so that
They-
everybody has free reign.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind the language, especially because language, again, I'm talking in terms of crossing mediums. The language restrictions in film have also kind of loosened.
But which is also like, it's not like it's something out of this world, because it's like he literally says it in the first 5 minutes. They say it in the first 5 minutes
Yeah,
of the movie.
right.
He's like, happy in Halloween. Like, so it's not like this word is established, especially that, I mean, that main word. But
It's weird if you were to do it in Star Wars, for example, because you're like,
yeah,
not anywhere
like if
near.
you hear the F word in Star Wars, and I'm just like, what? How does that work? Or like, what was that word they used in Battlestar Galactica? Frack?
frack, yeah.
And then I found out what fracking was, and I was like, what?
Like, you mean like drilling for
Yeah.
oil? Oh,
I was so confused. I was like, isn't that just like a bad word?
no.
But you asked me about, why this story is important. I think it's a cautionary tale. I think it's a cautionary tale of ambition and self-preservation, and just leaving issues within ourselves unchecked.
Yeah.
And I think that those things tend to ruminate and can be exposed, because it's like, if you leave things, especially from your childhood, from growing up, just if there's are big issues in your life and you don't address them, they can manifest themselves in ways that it's like are gonna affect you later on in life. And
That sometimes you're unaware of.
Exactly.
You don't even see it. Like you said, you rationalize them.
yeah, like, Oz, he rationalizes so many things in his head that it's like are heinous crimes, but it's like he kills his two brothers to end up with his mom, to protect her, to
That sentence sounds weird.
the show is,
That's what happens.
that's the
Yeah.
show. And I think you also see the other side, like with Sophia. She was trying to do, obviously not necessarily well. She was in a mobster family, she was in the mafia, but
Yeah, but I actually don't even know like how embedded she was in the family. Like that was her family. I don't know how much.
well, she was trying to lead, or she wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
have
I
a high
mean,
position. I mean, she knows what her family does.
that's true. That's true. She is complicit. In
And
that
so, but at the same time, it's not like she's out here, doing the dirty work and stuff like that. It's not like she, at least from what we saw, she wasn't this, malevolent character,
sense. Yeah.
that was trying to do harm, but she gets blamed on something. She gets, she finds out that her dad killed her mom, or she suspects it, and then she gets blamed by her own father and gets put in prison, an asylum.
Which, how much of a piece of garbage
Exactly.
is Falcone?
Carmine, yeah.
And how great is Mark Strong, by
Mark
the way,
Strong
in
was
that role?
fantastic.
I think in many ways even better than John Turturro.
Yeah. I think he had what, like an episode more?
Yeah, but I
Screen
think
time's probably
in that episode he has more
Screen
screen time than Turturro has in the whole.
I think-
Batman.
yeah.
Or the Tom Wilkinson has in Batman
yeah,
Begins.
I think he did great. But with Sophia, it's like you also see this tragedy of like she was unfairly, imprisoned, and then on top of that, she's forced to suffer basically torture, in Arkham, with the therapies, and just
When we talk about Grounded and we see those are the kind of therapies that they put her through, I wonder how much of that is real. How much, because it seems really fake. Is it just me or the red line?
maybe to
The
that
red
I
light
don't know
thing,
about the red stuff, but well, there's
There
I know
is
there's
like
therapy
those
like
light
that.
therapies like that. Yeah, but
like
I wonder if
shock
they're-
therapy. I don't know if people use that anymore, but
No, they don't. Well, they shouldn't.
Well,
I
they
do
have-
believe they're still. In
they
some
have
places.
something that's not necessarily like that, but they have electromagnetic brain stimulation.
Electrodes.
But it's like when I saw that episode, I was like, this is so crap. This is such a crappy situation for this.
No, I thought the episode was crap.
No, that episode was great. It's like you see what this person went through, how the betrayal from her own family member, like her own father, led her that way, but also the parallel of that mystery that ties into the Batman with Selena Kyle and her own mother, and just I love this show because for multiple reasons, but the performances are outstanding. I think the story was spot on, and I think it continues the greatness of the Batman. And I think having Reeves, attached. I think he's attached, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
Closely.
You don't watch the things at the end of every episode?
Not every episode.
Oh, you
Does
should.
he come and talk?
Yeah, he talks in
I didn't
every
s-
single one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
The ones I saw, I didn't see him.
Oh no, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's almost every single one. Because I'm always looking for him.
But I think having that consistency between, the person that's making these movies and being, related to the show goes a long way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think when people have, different visions that like they don't have a cohesive story, like where they want to go with this story, I think that's when it starts to get jumbled, and that's when we have a mess.
Yeah. I think the one takeaway I get is both it works from a meta perspective and also the show's story. You just mentioned Matt Reeves talking at the end. We've been talking about how our habits have changed and we like binge most things. And I've even switched to that. I was a big proponent when this show started a couple years ago. No, I like to simulate the television experience, and I've moved away from that. This show had me coming week in and week out. I'm not staying up late on Sundays anymore like I used to when I was younger, but it was as soon as work was done, or if I had the day off on Monday, I would watch it on Sunday. But as soon as work was done, I was coming home and I was watching the episode, watching the talkie after, watching the preview for next week, and anticipating that next week. All to say this, the decisions that they make on this television show are going to affect the way that this series and this universe, so to speak, is going to move forward.
It's all important.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is all important, which I think is a criticism we've had about the Marvel Universe lately, for example, right?
None of this matters.
Right. Which brings us back to the story itself.
It all matters.
The decisions that you make in life. Oh, I'm about to quote Gladiator, right? The decisions in this life echo in eternity. The decisions that you make, they affect the people around you. And you can see on this show how the Penguins' decisions directly affect the trajectory that Sophia's life is going to take. Her reactions to those events directly affect the people around her, and everyone from Carmine to even Selena to the Batmans lives are intrinsically tied to the events that are triggered by the decisions of the people around them. So that's what I got out of the show, and I invite you to explore that. Not just how the events of this story shapes the story of the characters around them, but how the events of your lives and your decisions shape the lives of those around you as well.
Have a great week, everybody. Keep on searching.